Damian Holbert from TV Guide Magazine and TV Insider. And we are sitting here talking with Mario Lopez, one of the OG members of Saved by the Bell, an iconic character. How is it being back in Slater's gym clothes?
Yeah, man, it's a trip because, it's over 30 years and I didn't think a little Saturday morning show we did a long time ago would have resonated so much and people would still be interested in checking it out. But I'm having a lot of fun with it.
What is it like now? Because so much time has passed and there have been so many spoofs and jokes and people have come to find it like they enjoy the campiness of it. And now you're in on the joke, kind of.
Yeah, it was a little challenging initially to try to strike that balance of the nostalgia and then keeping it updated because obviously we couldn't be in high school forever. So now we're coming back in these more sort of mentor type roles, authoritative roles, and I think with our showrunner Tracy Wickfield, who's really talented and smart and did 30 Rock, Mindy Kaling, won a bunch of awards. She's very clever and was a fan of the show, so that really helped. And I think she struck the right chord, kind of capturing that spirit and the tone of it. And we've got a great young cast. Mm-hmm. I'm happy with the way it turned out. And hopefully people check it out, dig it.
And what did you think when you first heard that, okay, they're thinking of reviving the show? Did you worry that they were going to do like a gritty reboot?
No, I mean, obviously I wouldn't have signed on or because I'm producing as well to want to do some version that I didn't think was going to just give it justice. So I was really happy with the team that we put together and happy with the cast that we put together. And for a reimagining, this is what they're calling it. I thought they nailed it.
Yeah. Well, it feels like it's such a good kind of extension of the original in that we see how you guys have grown up. And then we see that high schoolers, for as different as things are from 30 years ago, high schoolers don't change a lot.
Yeah. You have a lot of similar issues. I think kids nowadays, though, especially with social media and having a platform where you can be so vocal, they tend to be a lot more mature and savvy and socially conscious. And I think we tap into a lot of that. But at the same time, I kind of miss that era of sort of innocence where you really had to kind of engage and have that conversation. So, it's an interesting look at it now.
This is a very big deal, obviously, for the old school fans. But for you, Mitchell, you're playing a legacy character. What is that like, having to kind of pick up the mantle from Mr. Zach Morris?
Yeah, I definitely think it's picking up the mantle. And I also think it's having, a set of fresh eyes on it and to have my own take on it. And kind of introducing my generation to it and kind of what that world is and what the Morris name is and what that legacy is.
And Josie, this is, groundbreaking, obviously, but also awesome because Lexi is hilarious. Let's talk about how important this character is and how did you come to it?
Well, first of all, thank you for having us. I had been approached by Tracy Wickfield actually maybe a year and a half ago over the summer, our showrunner, about a character that she had in mind, inspired by the Kelly Kapowski character, but so much larger, bigger, smarter, more glamorous, and crazier. And I was on board from the jump. I was so excited to bring a character like this to screen. And then we just kept thinking of ways to make her more dynamic and more layered. And I feel like you'll see that throughout the season, that she's not just the stereotype and archetype of a mean girl that we see so often on television. And she actually has a lot more to her, which I think makes for a really fun watch.
What can you tell us about where these characters go once the new students move in?
I think what's so wonderful about this show is that we are having all these conversations that people are having at their dinner tables right now. The amount of diversity, not just in thought of our characters, but racial background, gender identity, and class through all of the characters on our show makes for such great storytelling, and they all learn from each other. And I think that really drives all the arcs for the season. And I just think it's extremely entertaining, but also something that a lot of people can learn from.
And Mitchell, your character, you would think is, he's the prankster, the con man, the charmer, but he's got some levels too, especially because of who his family is.
Of course, yeah. I think especially with that Morris name, like we talked about, trying to live up to that, there comes this almost like toxic masculinity aura about trying to kind of puff up my own vanity. But once the new kids do come in and kind of show almost my Achilles heel about, what I can do with my privilege, and that there is a world outside of my bubble and outside of Bayside and outside of my own friends. And I think that's a really important message for people to take from it, is the fact that we are habitual beings and we do tend to go to comfort, but sometimes it's very healthy to, go outside of ourselves and find something that maybe we don't usually do.
Belmont, you are one of the legacy characters. You get to play Jesse Spano's son. What is that like? And what kind of research do you do for that?
Well, it was super fun meeting Elizabeth during the audition process. And then after booking the role, getting into these conversations about how Jesse was as an original character on the original show, and how she would translate as a mother in present day, and what childhood would have looked like for Jamie, which is kind of two different things. He's very protected by his mother, and she, loves him unconditionally and will do anything to keep him out of harm's way, which is phenomenal. But it also can be a fault for Jamie, who is kind of clueless sometimes. And, what he makes up for in common sense, he has this wonderful, he's in tune with his emotional intelligence because of the gifts that his mom has given him.
Okay. And Dexter, you are one of the new kids coming in from a school district that has been affected by one of the OG characters. And right from jump, we find out that Devante actually has some serious skills that people might not expect.
Yeah. So it's important to me to be able to to provide that mystique a little bit as well, in the sense of, you look at Devante and you see a 6'1" kid from the inner city, and so you immediately assume one thing or the other. But I like having the opportunity to show you that he might not necessarily be what you think he is.
Will we see that side of him play out more as the series goes on?
Yeah, I can say you do, without giving too much away. But I think it's important to have, anytime you tap into a TV show, especially one that has a previous lineage of success, it's important to provide characters that have layers to them, so that that keeps the audience interested. But also, as you go through a journey in a TV show and watching it, you understand that the characters are going through a similar journey. And so Tracy Wigfield, our showrunner, did such a fantastic job of really including me on that artistic aspect of Devante, and having an opportunity to open it up in a way that we really feel welcomed, and that you can start to understand there's a little bit more to this kid from Douglas.
How the new kids come into this world of Bayside, which is just like a fantasy land.
Yeah.
How do the new kids kind of fit in and figure out, like, oh, this is a weird neighborhood?
Well, I think that's the most important thing to do when you're doing Saved by the Bell now, because Saved by the Bell in 2020 is very different from what it was in the 90s, right? So, and I don't know if that show in the 90s could have worked in 2020. You have to really address those issues head on, and really start to address the mystique of what Bayside is. And so it's really great, and it allows people the opportunity to watch a show and say, hey, well, maybe I could put myself in his shoes or her shoes, because I'm not used to that world that they come from. And I understand that I'm bringing them into my own energy, and they might not necessarily be able to relate. And so I think that's a really great thing that Aisha, Devante, and Daisy get the opportunity to do, and just show the world that the Bayside that we grew up loving can still exist, but not in the way that we think it does.